Hello, everybody. Today, in episode 103, we will talk about measuring what counts. We will learn about the analytics that we can use to measure performance. Who invests in assets that don't report performance? That's a very logical question, but that's what happens in the learning industry. It's irresponsible to spend money without an expected return, yet the global training industry invests $350 billion annually, with few organizations measuring return on investment ROI. Many learning directors and managers have ROI on their to do list, but it's an uphill battle, having regular KPI conversations with the CPI suite. According to the Corporate Executive Board (CEB), 45% of investments in corporate learning are ineffective, and only 12% of the CFOs have any confidence in the learning and development investments. Why measure learning? Executives need a signal that the investment in learning is valuable. According to the CLO magazine, 74% of executives expect ROI and 96% want business impact. The Harvard Business Review states that when learning is practical, supports organizational goals, and is provided for employees, organizational performance improves. If executives want learning measured and it's important to the business, why is measuring learning ROI so difficult? The ROI calculation is simple. Program benefits minus program costs divided by program costs times 100 is ROI percentage. So what are the current challenges and blind spots? Learning teams rarely track the full breadth of the program costs. They track travel, meals, materials, but exclude internal development, printing, facilitation, technology, or time off the job. Learning teams must include the total program costs in the ROI measurement. Learning teams develop programs without clear business objectives. Executives need increased sales, strong leaders, and improved safety, but most programs lack direct alignment with business targets. Without clear costs and benefits, calculating ROI is simply impossible. Let's talk about some of the metrics that are used today. Business metrics. Learning must align with business metrics. Kirkpatrick defines that this is a level 4 results that we should be focusing on. Sales and compliance training are easier to measure, but even softer skill training needs measurable benefits that start with the dollar sign. Start an ongoing conversation with the business leaders to identify specifics. Increased sales as a goal is too vague. Gather the details on sales targets per sale rep. Which stage of the sales funnel deals are getting stuck in? Which products have the least traction with customers to identify whether product training is needed for sales or whether your product management team needs support with PMM model refreshers. Focus on participant stories. Some programs are difficult to measure. Collect qualitative impact stories. What do people do after learning? Do people say they perform better? Use stories to build promoters and drive change. Tread carefully. These stories are inherently subjective. However, stories could prove useful to the business if there is a structured approach for consolidating and synthesizing them into an aggregate report with a focus on the factors that have perceptible impact on the business. Stories are even more powerful if delivered as a complement to and in alignment with specific business practices. What is the time to competence? Onboarding, measure how fast people are performing. The less time, the better. Measure performance 6 months following, especially for high growth or turnover companies. Tailor this approach and reserve for use in more transactional work settings. For example, claims processing, new account openings, making sandwiches, etc. Most anything that requires the same set of tasks each time so that you can create a measurable baseline. Tracking the metric is difficult with more advanced service work where tasks are not standardized. In these cases, also use qualitative feedback from the hiring manager to assess. Focus on retention application. Measure retention or skill application to maximize benefits and prevent knowledge loss. More applications mean more value. New tools enable spaced repetition to make learning stick and drive job performance. Get your definition straight. Work with your line of business leaders and the C-suite to set standard definitions around what successful retention metrics and applications are. Without clean definitions, this is hard to measure and is focused on the loss of learning more than business impact. Adoption. Whenever technology is introduced, people need to use it to get value. Track adoption of new tools to measure benefits to the business. Could lead to false positives too. Adoption metrics typically refer to new technology. The C-suite may have reservations about this since adoption could be driven by many other factors, not the least of which is whether the new technology is perceived to be less useful than the one it replaced. The ROI. Critical programs still need full ROI. If costs and benefits are clear, ROI becomes simple math. Per the ROI Institute, only a 3 to 5% of the learning budget goes all the way to the ROI, so choose a critical few. Let's focus on collecting data for tomorrow. There are different techniques to do that. One is adaptive. Adaptive technology provides individuals or departmental data. Who's learning? How much time they invest, and more. Use the data to target learning initiatives. Then there is predictive. Once individual learning is measured, use technology to recommend or predict learning. Think Amazon here. People in your role or on your career path were also interested in learning this. Then we have social. In social, as informal learning grows, find influencers and subject matter experts who bring knowledge in, share it broadly, and accelerate learning and change. As per Brandon Hall, just 2% of the organizations are highly effective at measuring informal learning. Search. Measure search terms to guide content development. If 50% of the employees in one region are searching for information on one topic, they are hungry for the content and learning support. What can you do now? Learning metrics are challenging, so here are a few tips that will move you closer to the Holy Grail. First, do some research. Start talking to IT and finance about gathering business requirements. They have defined methods for calculating expected benefits before projects launch. They can provide the language to align with senior executives. Think small and agile. Don't measure everything. Identify the hottest business issues and measure the pilot. Extrapolate organizational results from pilot data. Build technology skills. HR technology spending is growing within the employee learning systems. So, learning teams need to have the skills to talk to vendors and IT about how to leverage new data. Start a scorecard. It may be one metric, but start somewhere. Get a baseline, and over time, when executives see useful metrics in the language they speak, they will want more. Remember, people are assets that increase in value over time. So make the most of the $350 billion that are spent worldwide annually. Invest your money wisely. That'll be all for this episode. Hope you all are having a great weekend. This is Ron wishing you a healthy, happy, and productive week ahead.